So things are getting pretty bullish for Tesla. Now in this video, I want to go ahead and provide my perspective on Tesla both from the short term and the long term. And guys, you're gonna want to make sure to watch this video in its entirety because like I said, it's getting pretty bullish. We got some crazy news coming out. Now, before I go ahead and go into that stuff, I just want to go ahead and just give you guys some context, right? So right now at the moment, a lot of people are very upset about the price cuts from Tesla. They see this as very bearish. However, in my opinion, this is very bullish, especially at a time when individuals are paying $1,000 a month for their car payments, right? So obviously, being able to cut prices for Tesla drives up more demand. And guess what? Tesla can do that because they actually have a buffer of profit margins that they could kind of cut through or cut back a little bit, while all the other automakers are actually unprofitable with their EV vehicles. Now, I want you guys to keep that thought in the back of your minds because like I said, the stuff I'm gonna say is crazy. It's gonna blow your minds, right? It's gonna show you why Tesla is looking very bullish, okay? Now, there's this article from the New York Times that states the Biden administration is planning some of the most stringent auto pollution limits in the world, designed to ensure that all electric cars make up as much as 67% of new passenger vehicles sold in the country by 2032. Now, that's pretty bullish if you ask me, because at the moment, or just last year, EV vehicles only accounted for about 5.8% of all vehicles sold last year that were electric. So jumping from 5% to 67%, well, I mean, that's pretty bullish. And then if you actually look at who owns the EV market share, right? Tesla, with their vehicles at this very moment, already control over 65% of the market share. And if they're able to stay profitable and produce more vehicles, and Joe Biden's administration wants to make the market, or just EV vehicles much more predominant in America, well, I mean, if Tesla already owns 65%, well, I mean, who's gonna be the clear winner out here? Now, further on in the article, it states at the same time, the proposed regulations would pose a significant challenge for automakers. Nearly every major car company has already invested heavily in electric vehicles, but few have committed to levels envisioned by the Biden administration. Now, I don't really have to spell it out to you guys, but who are the few who have not actually committed to the infrastructure for this plan by the Biden administration? Pretty much all the legacy automakers, right? Ford, GM, etc. The list goes on, versus Tesla already has the infrastructure for this to actually benefit Tesla significantly. Now, I also want to go ahead and talk about this. Further in the article, it states that the proposed rule would not mandate that electric vehicles make up a certain number or percentage of sales. Instead, it would require that automakers make sure the total number of vehicles they sell each year did not exceed a certain emissions limit. That limit would be so strict that it would force car makers to ensure that 2/3 of the vehicles they sold were all electric by 2032, according to the people familiar with the matter. Now, why is this really big? Well, we know, right, that these legacy auto companies, they are losing billions and billions of dollars each year just to transition into EV. The only reason why these companies are still profitable is because people still buy their, ICE vehicles, their internal combustion engine vehicles, right? But imagine a rule that's saying, hey, you have to limit how much you can sell of these, internal combustion engines, vehicles, and have to, sell more EV vehicles. Well, if they're at a loss with EV vehicles and they're only really profitable just because at the moment people are buying more of the, gas guzzling cars, well, what's gonna happen where they have to limit that? Well, it's gonna present a lot of issues, right? Not for Tesla though, right? So that's why I'm very bullish on Tesla in the long term. Mr. Joe Biden is kind of like pushing the ball in the court for Tesla.
Oh my God. Oh my God, this is great.
Now, for those of you guys that are familiar with the channel, you guys know that I do invest long term, but I also trade in the short term. I have two separate brokerage accounts, right? Because investing and trading are two separate vehicles, right? So long term, very bullish on Tesla, still adding more shares into my long term portfolio. But in my trading account, I really haven't been trading Tesla that much, right? I mentioned this in my previous videos, and I want to go ahead and break down why, but I also want to go ahead and talk about what are some things that we should really be watching out for as we come into the next few trading sessions. Now, when we take a look into the macroeconomic events coming up soon, one of the things you have to pay attention to is a CPI report that comes out April 12th, right? Now, this is huge because we want to know where we are at with inflation. Are we doing better? Are we getting worse? And why do we want to know this? Why do we care about inflation? Well, we want to know what's going to happen in the upcoming FOMC rate decision that's coming up in May, where the Federal Reserve is going to decide whether or not they should hike by an additional 25 basis points or if they're going to do a pause. Now, if they do a pause, well, that's going to be very bullish. The overall market is just going to be ecstatic about that. Now, me personally, I don't think we're there yet. Now, I know some people are going to be upset, like, Justin, you think they're going to hike more? I think so. Now, it could all change because obviously I don't have the data that's going to be coming out. If the data that comes out looks very good, right, we see that inflation and core inflation is coming down, or PCE numbers, which come out a little later in this month. If we see that, those numbers coming down, well, yeah, maybe we could pause, and that could be a serious catalyst event to, propel Tesla upwards. However, in my opinion, I believe that they're still going to hike an additional 25 basis points, and then perhaps after that, Jerome Powell is probably going to pause. Now, if we take a look at the Tesla chart, we see that Tesla finally had a green day after, really having a severe amount of selling going on. Now, really, this isn't that much of a green day because it kind of just closed at what it closed like pretty much on Friday, so it's not really a big deal. However, we may see a little bit of a reversal going on. We have to really just pay attention to the chart, what's going on. Now, one of the things I mentioned a multitude of different times on this channel, it almost sounds like a broken record at this point, is just talking about the volume by price. We are at this level where there's a lot of volume by price, where it's kind of putting this shelf of resistance for Tesla to really break above that. Now, it could break above that, but we're gonna need a catalyst event. What are the catalyst events that could break above this? Well, it could be, the earnings that comes out and, on the 19th. It could be if we had good inflation numbers, right? And it could be whether or not the Federal Reserve pauses. Now, that's why I really haven't been really too concerned of what Tesla does in the short term, because right now it kind of just seems like we're kind of just moving sideways, or we're moving downwards slightly. I don't think a crash is necessarily happening. However, I'm not really trading Tesla intraday. Now, of course, I could short Tesla as it goes down, but at the moment, like, I really haven't been too focused on Tesla. I've just been adding it to my long-term portfolio of Tesla shares whenever I possibly can, just because I know that if things go down the way it looks like things are happening, well, it looks like Tesla is gonna come up on top. Now, real quick, I do want to let you guys know that one of the links in the description of this video is a link for Webull, which is a platform I use for trading. And definitely, if you sign up using that link, you will get 12 free stocks, which is absolutely amazing, especially during a time right now where you need to take as many free things as you possibly can. So definitely check out that link in the description below. But you guys let me know in the comments section yourselves, what are your thoughts for Tesla in the next coming weeks? And what are your thoughts on Biden being very bullish on Tesla long term? I mean, you guys let me know, is this good for Tesla, or what are your thoughts? Maybe you guys have a different perspective of how this could be bad for Tesla. But anyways, you guys let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you guys on this next video right over here. Take care, guys.